You know, they say the world's a stage. And guess what? You've already been cast in a leading role, whether you realize it or not. Today, we're going to dig into what it means to be a multicultural actor. We'll see how your own personal story is tangled up with this huge global drama, and, most importantly, how you can start deciding what part you really want to play.
So let's just jump right in. I mean, think about it. Your life is a constant mix of different worlds, right? There's your family culture, your school, your friends, all your online communities, the country you live in. It's a lot. So the big question is, in this massive, messy, incredible play, are you just going to be an extra walking around in the background, or are you ready to step up and be one of the main characters?
Okay, first things first. Before any actor steps on stage, they gotta understand their role. So what on earth do we even mean by a multicultural actor?
Yeah, it's so much more than just happening to live in a place with lots of different people. Being a multicultural actor is an active thing. It's the huge difference between just saying lines that somebody else wrote for you and actually getting the whole story. You know, understanding the history, the different points of view, the power dynamics at play. It's all about choosing your role instead of just letting it be assigned to you. It's about having agency. That's the power to make your own informed choice.
So, to figure out your character on this world stage, you've got to know their backstory. Let's zoom in on the building blocks of you, your identity, and your culture.
Let's start with a big one, ethnicity. Now, here's the thing you've got to remember. Ethnicity isn't about biology or your DNA. Not really. It's about social connections. It's about how a group of people looks at itself and says, hey, we're culturally unique. Maybe it's based on language or shared history or traditions. It's that shared story that creates this really powerful feeling of belonging.
And how we think about cultural differences, man, it matters. For a long time, a lot of systems had this deficit view. They looked at things like speaking another language at home as a problem that needed to be fixed. But the whole mindset we're talking about today completely flips the script. It's an asset view. This way of thinking sees your unique background, your language, your history, not as a weakness, but as a huge strength. A superpower, really. It's a whole toolkit of experiences that makes you, and honestly, everyone you interact with, way richer.
And here is a perfect example of what that asset view looks like in the real world. In this story, a family needs to raise money for their church. Now, they could look at what they don't have, but they don't. They look at what they do have. Tio Rodolfo, he's a luchador, a wrestler. So what does he do? He puts on a Lucha Libre fundraiser. The whole family pitches in what they can. That's not a story about being poor. It's a story about being incredibly resourceful, using your unique skills to lift up your entire community.
Okay, so let's zoom the camera out a bit. We've looked at the individual, now let's look at the national stage. How do whole countries try to manage all this cultural diversity? Well, you're about to see there is definitely no single script for that.
This table lays it out pretty clearly. On one hand, you've got France's model of assimilation. The basic idea there is that in public, you adopt the dominant French culture. Then you've got Canada, which has an official policy of multiculturalism, trying to make space for diversity. And then there's the historical example of Germany's exclusion model, where for a long time, being a citizen was tied directly to your ethnic background. Here's the big takeaway. A country's approach to diversity is never an accident. It's a choice. It's a political decision that shows you what that nation really values, and it has massive impacts on millions of people's lives.
And why do those national policies matter so much? Well, get a load of this number. 200 million. That's roughly how many people today live outside the country they were born in. That's about 3% of the entire world's population. Every single one of those people is living inside one of those national policies we just talked about. That's millions upon millions of individual stories of moving, adapting, and connecting, all happening right this second.
And you know, making a nation's ideals a reality is almost never a simple straight line. Just look at this timeline from the US. The journey towards liberty and justice for all has been a long, hard-fought struggle. And what's so fascinating is how often the biggest pushes for change came from the very people who were left out. From women demanding the right to vote to civil rights leaders. It's been a constant pattern of marginalized groups holding up the country's founding promises and saying, hey, what about us? Make these words real for everyone.
All right, so we've seen how this stuff plays out inside a country, but we all live in a deeply connected world now,
which means we have to zoom out one last time. Let's pull the camera way back to the global stage and talk about what it means to be a citizen of the entire planet.
A huge idea here is something called Global Citizenship Education, or GCE. And listen, this isn't about memorizing flags in capital cities. It's a way of learning that challenges you, that pushes you to think beyond yourself or even your own country. It's about realizing that we actually have a moral responsibility to other people all over the world, and that we have to work together on the big stuff, like social injustice and climate change.
And some thinkers are taking this idea and running with it, calling it planetary citizenship. Now, don't get bogged down by the academic speak on the slide. Here's what it boils down to. Instead of having one single rigid definition of what a good citizen is, the idea is that it should be flexible, it should float. It means different communities can define it for themselves, and then create actual real-world projects to fix the problems that matter most to them, right where they are.
And look, this isn't just a bunch of big ideas floating around in the clouds. There is a ton of real research and actual educational tools out there designed to help us get our heads around these huge, messy global issues. The point is, you don't have to figure all this out by yourself. There are frameworks and resources to help you dig in and understand the world on a much deeper level.
Okay, so the very latest thinking on this pushes us even more. It's an approach that asks us to do two really important things. First, to dig deeper. That means taking a hard, honest look at how our own lives, our own societies, might actually be part of the problem, instead of just pointing fingers. And second, to relate wider. That means truly listening to and learning from different ways of knowing and being in the world. It's about being okay with the fact that there are no easy answers, just a lot of complexity that we have to learn to sit with and navigate together.
So, we've looked at you, your identity, your nation, and the entire globe. Let's bring it all back home, right back to you. How can you actually use these ideas? What is your role on the stage?
Here are 4 key principles to get you started. First, be provocative reflective. Question everything. Don't be afraid to take a stand for fairness. Second, deep in engagement. Go beyond the headlines. Get comfortable with the messy, complicated truth. Third, foster human flourishing. Yeah, work hard for your own success, but connect that to building a world where everyone has the chance to live a good life. And finally, and maybe this is the most important one, participate. Find your voice. Practice using it here, in school, so you're ready and confident to use it out in the world.
And as you get started on this journey, remember this amazing quote from the physicist Werner Heisenberg. He said that no matter how much we know, we've only ever understood a tiny sliver of reality. The part we don't get yet, it's infinite. It's just a good reminder that being a multicultural actor isn't a destination. It's a lifelong process of learning and questioning and growing. There's no final test.
So, the stage is set. The history, the cultures, the global forces, they're all in motion. But the script for the future, that's still unwritten. And you are one of its authors. So the only question left is, what part will you play?